Hi guys, Richard from SharpshootingUK here. I'm in my garden with some lovely night vision laid out for you. I've been doing some testing on Digiscopes, DIY setups and the X-Sight day-night scope. The Pulsar Digiscope here is a fairly classic digital Digiscope in that it is all about night. It can be zeroed in the day without damage, but it is almost unusable in any serious way, and has some clever features that are progressing each year with each model, and some of them are genuinely very useful, and the night vision performance is really quite remarkable. Then we've got a Ludicrous Lumens DIY kit, but really it's not so DIY these days. There's barely a loose cable on the whole thing. Right. Smart box, all 3D printed, the camera's all enclosed smartly, single cable between the two, battery built in. That isn't very Heath Robinson at all. That's a very smart alternative to these all-in-one options. So we'll talk about that. Very good image quality, much cheaper, really good value. And the X-Sight 2, which is incredibly ambitious, has some truly remarkable features. Has some foibles that you have to get round. I've done a separate video on how to get the best out of the X-Sight 2, just a short video showing you some pitfalls to avoid. But you get that right, and this is a very interesting scope that will basically record video or photos at the press of a button. Whatever you see through the scope, it will record. It is a day scope that is very capable. You're basically looking through an HD video camera with a reticle. It will do nighttime very well. Not as best as the best, not as well as the best, but very well. And it is a really good price. It depends on the model, but £700–800, which is half of some of the night vision options. So I'll be talking about that as well. Okay, so starting with the X-Sight. This is a day-night scope. So where it's different from the rest of the market is that this is essentially a video camera, and it has a superimposed electronic ret over your display. It will then, through its internal engine inside, it will be able to calculate various things for you and move the ret around. It is different from the normal Digiscopes in that it is perfectly decent in the day, whereas your classic Digiscope is not like tubed night vision, the green military stuff that is damaged by normal daylight. These can be used in the day without damage, so you can just about zero them, because zeroing at night is a headache on many levels. You can just about zero them in the day, but honestly you can barely see a bullet hole at 100 yards. They are unusable in the day, but they are usable in the day in that you don't damage them, but they're awful. The X-Sight has really got a USP here in that you can take this to the range and you can play with it in the day. You can record video, you can tag the video, you can record photos, all of that, HD, lovely. And then you put it into night mode, a little solenoid draws a little IR filter across, and you are looking at it going into full night vision mode with an IR torch strapped to the side. So it's very versatile. So we need to examine what the pros and cons of these two devices are. And then of course there's the wild card in here, which is, why don't I just have a company like Ludicrous Lumens build me basically a CCTV camera system in a 3D printed box. It's what's known as DIY night vision. This kit I sent to Ludicrous Lumens because I got into DIY night vision early on, and I had 12-volt cables, I had video cables literally wrapped in tape, strapped together and tucked away in a little bag. This will give you an idea of what DIY used to look like. That was what the camera used to go in. There's the screen, loose, with some cables. And then that clamp used to hold the screen. This is all jury-rigged from bits and pieces. These are some of the cables, taped together. Sockets and joints for video out. And then another one going off for power. Nasty. Worked well, but very scrappy. Now you can just buy this system. Box, cable. Everything built in. Switches all on the... all there. Video out. All hardwired. Good batteries inside. They've come a long way. And then people like Ludicrous Lumens came along and started saying, well, why don't we put it in a smart box? Why don't we take the screen out of its housing and put it inside a better housing with a video out and a power in and a battery inside and a slot on the top? And all of a sudden, it's very, very smart. But this is a good quality camera with a good quality battery that is really cheap. I mean, I think these are... Did he tell me they were £230 plus VAT, something like that? So, you know, you're at a quarter of the price of your Digisights. So why would you buy this? Why would you buy that? And in the middle, cost-wise, you've got the X-Sight too. Okay, let's do some broad pros and cons. The main pro of the DIY system is that it is a really good price, under £300. And it has very good quality, and probably the biggest thing is that you can take that tube, which clamps over the scope there, and you can take that bracket and put it on another scope, put that over the back of another scope. You may have to adjust the lens briefly, but then you're set up for another scope. So you can take your normal rifle, you can strap this on, and you are in night vision mode. You can then say, oh, okay, I want a little ratting scope, you know, a 1:5 or something, and you can pop it on that scope. Then the next night you're foxing with your 4:16 or whatever, and you can pop it on that. So very, very versatile, very good value. The pros of the Digisight is that it is purely focused to night vision performance, and it's very good at it. It's very good at it. The night vision performance in a bespoke night vision unit is very good. We'll get to exactly how good later, comparatively to this and this. The advantage of the X-Sight is it's a good price. You can record video day and night and photos, and it has basically a fully featured ballistic calculator in there that will sort out all of your drops. So let's just clarify that. You take your ATN rangefinder, there's a 1500 yard one and a 1000 yard one. You ping your target, and this adjusts the rep for you, and you pull the trigger. It's pretty swish. Now, that is very, very attractive, and the price is very attractive. So can it walk the walk? It certainly talks the talk, this thing. we can get on a 4 and a 3-inch gong right out there. Inches of wind, you can see it at the bottom. Well, elevation good, but it's obviously much windier out there. There you have it. So that is doing all of the work. I simply told it which direction the wind was coming from and what the speed was. But the trajectory side of things is also completely spot on. Middle of that gong. That's a 4-inch gong. That's 330 yards, as you can see. And even the pinging was done automatically. Pretty impressive. I've got to wait for it to be matching with what the wind is doing. So I've set a fairly high wind in the scope. I'm just going to wait for some gustage. Right, I've got a bit of a lull at the moment. Can't be bothered to wait, so I'm going to hold off to the right. Okay, I've got 22 inches of correction in, so the scope's really pointing over there, allowing for the wind. The wind's dropped off, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim about there. See how we do. Dropped, as I say, so I'm going to hold off. There we go. Beautiful. Okay guys, so we're thinking that about 16 miles an hour will be the right neck of the woods for the wind quartering down this valley. Everything's been done by the scope. All I'm doing is fighting the main enemy, which is the wind. When your elevation is taken care of, you have more headspace to make good wind calls, so this is very handy. Everything's been done by the scope. It's worked out 16.5 inches, 22 inches of left. Let's set one and see. 345 yards, treble 2. Here we go. Pretty lethal, guys. Okay guys, here's some down the scope stuff. That is 300 yards there, bottom of the screen, about 330 at the top. Let's have a look at these this big stone here, with the pock marks in. Maybe I can put another one in there for you, would you like that? Let's see, I'll ping it with a rangefinder and let it solve the solution for me. We're reckoning it's about a 16 mile an hour wind. I'm going to zoom in to about 10, that should suffice. There we go. It's not Swaro sharp, but it'll do a lot better than your other night scopes. Let's ping that, see how far it is, and I'll send one in for you. Got it? 322? Yeah. Alright, here we go. I reckon I've probably got a bit too much wind on. Oh no, there's a gust. We're correcting the fairly high wind here. There you go. Yeah, there is a bit too much wind. right a bit, a little bit too much wind on. Last shot. I can't be bothered to wait for that 61 on our gust, so I'm going to hold off. Yeah, it's really lulled. I'm going to hold off quite a bit now. There you have it. So that's 10 meg. I'll just take you back to 5 so you can get an idea. It's a little washed out, the image. When you look through the screen, the greens are a little bit white, but you know, it's very workable. And then this is with the iris on, by the way. The iris lens does help sharpen things up in very, very high light. So yeah, that's 5. There's a nice fine dot on this, so it's quite precise. 7, 8, 9 and a bit. So you can see the bullet holes there, 320. Now we're starting to lose quality up at 13, but you know, you are zooming in. See the heat haze. And at 20 it's ugly, but it's working. So that's what we're talking about, guys, at 300 yards. At rimfire ranges, it's, you know, really nice looking. But that's a better digital zoom than the other night scopes, because the system resolution is higher. So there we have it. It's not for everyone, but it's certainly got some clever features, as you've just seen. After a lot of testing, the conclusion that I have come to is that the DIY system is ridiculous value, because the quality of the output, the night vision performance, the abilities of the camera to adjust to various light levels, to stop down, to open up, to close up its iris, to be a good optical instrument, is very high. It's ironic because they seem quite budget, especially the early ones with all the loose cables and the attachments hanging out, like the one that this used to be before it was upgraded and put in this smart box. They look quite rough, or can look quite rough, but their performance is really very good, and you have adjustability in that you can adjust the screen, you can adjust the camera on its little menu, you can put it on various different rifles, as I said before, so you really can't go far wrong with a so-called DIY night vision system. I mean, this thing here is very, very capable. You're talking about it being able to handle so much infrared light. You can use a really powerful torch, and this will identify foxes at 450, 500 yards. That's pretty good night vision. Now, the Pulsar, which is a dedicated night vision scope, really impressed me in the testing for it. It's just out and out light gathering ability. You can use this in moonlight or even half moonlight without any illumination, without any IR, and you can see a rabbit pop out of a hedge 100 yards away. I mean, or a rat pop out of a shed at 40 yards. This is really impressive. With a load of IR, which it deals with really well. Sometimes when you put loads of IR out with basic cameras, it just whites out and it can't deal with that extra light. It needs to, in photographic terms, it needs to stop down, and some of them don't do it. This deals with light of any level with great aplomb, and you can see 600-yard foxes. And I don't mean see the eyes, I mean identify their shape positively. That's really good night vision. The X-Sight has by far the most advanced features and is incredibly versatile. Its night vision performance is great, and the latest firmware version has improved it even more, but it isn't in the same league as the other two. It is very well suited to FAC air, rimfire, HMR, small centerfire, rabbiting, and closer range foxing. Now, some of these foxing lads, they are real serious, and essentially, if you're talking below 200 yards, this X-Sight is absolutely fantastic. If you want to ID foxes at 500 yards, it just hasn't got those skills. It's essentially to do with it being much higher resolution than the others by day. It slightly compromises its night vision performance, but think hard about what it is that you want. The other thing I like about the X-Sight HD is there's a 3-14 model, and that low-end 3 means you can scan with it. It means you can shoot rabbits with it and rats with it, and then you can put it on your foxing rig, wind it up to 10 times and shoot further out. It skins the others for versatility. It's also, as I say, this really good price, but it isn't in the same league when it comes to long-range night vision. The people who think that it is don't know what the other options are and how good they are. You test it side by side to the Pulsar, and it is just a different planet. But it does what you need, for me particularly, in that if I'm going to spend my hard-earned, I certainly want to retain the ability to go ratting. Now, there are long-range foxing guys out there who've got no interest in that at all, and they will choose differently. But I like the low mag of the X-Sight because it's so versatile. I can scan around with it. What I do is I sit on an idle back chair, separate review for that brilliant thing coming, and I scan around in an arc, and I can see what's happening. And then I can zoom in when I've identified something. In other words, I don't use a separate spotter. The 3 times is very generous for field of view, and that makes this thing really, really versatile. If you give it a load more IR than the little one that comes with it, and I'll get to these later, this is a really decent stab, this little lightweight infrared torch that comes with the X-Sight. 3 modes, silent operation, it zooms and floods a bit, and it's got a brilliant little adjustable clamp. Really, really like it. It is well suited to the device. It absolutely humbles the one that comes on the Pulsar, which is essentially completely useless, and it completely requires an external IR, which of course, is standard. You would put an external high power torch on such a device, but the one that's with it is just wasted weight. This that comes with the X-Sight is thoroughly well suited to its main skills, which are 100-yard rabbits and 150, 175-yard foxes, and it will do that out of the box really well with the supplied kit, all for the excellent price of £700-800. So I think that's been well thought out, and this is a really, really clever device. If you double and triple the amount of IR with a massive great torch, Optics Warehouse, who bring these in, have a deal where they give you their big green torch, as it's called, which is basically a T68 type of size, and it is a powerful torch, but it doesn't suddenly double and triple the range that you're looking at getting from this device like it would on the Pulsar, because the camera runs out of ability before then. It helps a bit. For me, the X-Sight 2 is best balanced with one of these, which is a T50, with the new Oslon black pill. I think it's called an AS pill. There's a new IR pill that's, I think, twice as powerful for only 40% more current draw, something like that. Anyway, this is from Ludicrous Lumens. Came with this kit, the DIY kit, and this T50 is really well suited. It's just so much less bulky than the really big torches, and it sits on here really nicely, and we'll give that the a little bit of extra range, but you can't expect to identify foxes at 500 yards. It's just not its strength. But you can expect to go out with an HMR and everything be lit up clear as day. You can record what you want with sound, hours and hours of it, and you know, the quality is great. It isn't like looking through a Swarovski, but it is really, really usable, and it's kind of fun in a futuristic kind of sniper cam type of way, you know. Okay, no IR, medium sensitivity, iris off, just after dark. I can't see a thing down there with the naked eye. That's what would it be, 25 yards from here, squirrel spinner, child's truck. Illuminator on low, night mode, iris on, children's toys, squirrel target, spinners. Now that is absolutely mustard for ratting. Good field of view, got a ballistic calculator, adjustable rets, ability to record, easy on the eye, and that is sharp as can be. What more do you need? I like that. I'm very, very impressed with that. And then of course in the day the performance is very decent, thank you. It's a very versatile piece of kit, this. There's a lot of silliness and snobbery from some of the night vision hardcore out there, and I'm having none of it. This is handsome, this, for half the price of some of the Serious MV kits out there. That old tank's probably be 35 yards away. Now the Pulsar's native optical magnification is 3.5 and the field of view is improved over the previous models. I really, really like that, because what it does is it gives you that versatility. You can scan, you can do closer range stuff, and this is important to me. What is regarded as the best optical quality at night available in the commercial sphere is the Drone Pro, probably. And again, that's more money. That's getting up towards £2,000. But for me, the problem with the Drone Pro is that whilst I am impressed by its performance at night and its skills at adjusting to different light. For example, at dusk you can point it towards the horizon, and the difference between the darkening foreground as dusk falls and the still bright sky, it deals with absolute aplomb. It's like a pro camera. You know, it's really, really clever at sorting its exposure out. This Pulsar does that well. Basic systems can't do that. But I'm impressed by the camera side of it, as it were, but it's 10 times fixed. Now, you can't rat with that. You can barely shoot close-range rabbits with that. You know, that is literally a specific tool for long-range foxing. And for £2,000, I'd like a bit more versatility. If it were 5 times, I'd be personally more pleased. So this Pulsar is 3.5 times, and that really does make it very, very handy. All of these devices, apart from the DIY, have the problem, which is that they have a certain optical magnification that's done by glass and lenses, and there is no loss. That is where they're happy. If you then zoom in, say you hit the double button on this and you go from 3.5 to 7, you will halve your quality, if not more. And by 12 and 13, it is getting awful. So this is a big problem. So this is something that you need to consider very carefully. This is 3 to 14. As you go up from 3 to 14, the quality worsens. This is 3.5. And as you go up, the quality worsens. It will go up to 14, but it's awful at 14. And this £300 system here looks through your scope, so you can zoom as much as you want. This one here is a 2.5 to 15, and it's really usable 2.5 to 10, 11, which is optical. You're not losing anything. The only problem is as you zoom in at the really high zooms, it starts to dim down a bit, get a bit softer, but you are not giving away resolution hand over fist like you are with the digital systems. That is the difference essentially between an optical zoom and a digital zoom. These Digiscopes are optical and fixed, and then they have a digital zoom that will get you more magnification at the immediate and exponential cost of resolution. The technology is not about where you can zoom in on this like you can a normal scope, with the exception, as I say, of the DIY system, which is slaved to your scope. It looks through your scope, so you can zoom in on that without loss, aside from this slight darkening of the image towards the top. So the DIY is not the poor man's option here. You mustn't think that this is some Heath Robinson way of doing it, which is, I must admit, how I originally thought it would perform against these £2,000 things, but the quality of the DIY is really good, which we'll get to. Now, it's also worth noting with the DIY that the battery life is outstanding. You're looking at 15 hours from this system with the Panasonic cells. No problem, you know, just rock on. No lag, no nothing. It's essentially a digital camera looking through your scope. What these are front to back electronic devices, and they chew power. The X-Sight is unusable on normal 4x AA batteries. It just freezes up in no time, and you have to run it on an external power pack. Now, this is not the end of the world. Just plug the cable in the side and put it in a cheek piece. There's various different ways. There's even some ways where you can clip it to the side of the gun and to Picatinny mount, but you know, it needs considered. The Pulsar, again, that runs on 12 volts, so you run a 12 volt cable out of that socket there that's exposed, and you put a power pack, a lithium polymer power pack in your pocket, and you're cooking with gas. This here will take 4 AAs like the X-Sight, and it will consume them at a rate of knots that will take your breath away. The DIY system, 15 hours, built in, no external cables, neat and elegant and efficient. You've got to hand it to it, and that's 230 quid plus VAT. You just can't go wrong with this. So let's just think a little bit more about what you can do with this. I've got a detailed section on how to configure this, so I'm not going to bore you with it now, but let's just say that you can set up in here your ballistics for your rifle, your BC and your speed, and you zero it at a given range. All you've got to then do is ping the target with your rangefinder, and it will, this is I think £400, £380, that rangefinder, which is pretty much going rate for such a piece of kit. It will then move the reticle for you, to cut a long story short. So you look through the scope and you've got the reticle, which is superimposed on the image obviously, but it's digital. It's not an optical fixed reticle like in a scope, it's a computer game. And that ret will move according to the range that you ping from the rangefinder. So you're talking here about some schoolboy sci-fi dream of a scope. It's just remarkable. You are firing that laser at the target, it's reporting back, invisibly pinging without cables to the scope instantly, which auto-adjusts your point of aim. All you've got to do is pull the trigger. That is really, really something. And none of the other scopes have got anything like that level of capability, and certainly not in the day. So it's much more than a straightforward night vision scope. Now, interestingly, the Pulsar has a rangefinder on it, but it doesn't automatically adjust your profile, your reticle. It doesn't adjust your ballistics. But it isn't far off. What you do with the Pulsar is this. You put your zero in, and you can put 5 points of trajectory in. So you do 100 yard zero, say we're talking about a centerfire, do 100 yard, 150, 200, 250, 300. And they are then stored under that profile. So profiles, 2 or 4 Ruger, you've got your 5 points of zero. Then what you do when you're looking at your target by night is you hit the ping button, which is this button on the top. The built-in rangefinder there will look at the target, and if it's below sort of 600 yards, it will report back. It's a fairly simple rangefinder, but it works well enough. It fires back the range, and it says in the screen it's 350 yards. It will not adjust for you for the trajectory, but you can, using the roll wheel here, you can roll that to your associated 0 point, one of your 5, and then you're on. So it's not instant, but it isn't far. What I was doing when I was ratting with this is I would sit down and I would ping the locations where the rats were coming out. So I'd have 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, and then I'd have some at 65. And I would then sit down, wait for the rats, and as the rat came out, I would say to myself, right, that's at the 45-yard location, and I'd roll my fingers round to the relevant setting on the display, and you're at that right zero. And when you're dealing with 22LR or something really loopy, this is really, really something, because judging distance at night is incredibly difficult. Everybody knows that. So any help you can get is handy. This will do it automatically, but it's handier at night. It's handier in the day, because you ping your target and that does the work for you. But at night, you can't see a thing through a rangefinder, and it isn't built in. This system is better at night because you have got it strapped to the side and it's pointing at your target. So all you've got to do is press the button. There's even a little remote where you can press the little button on the remote, and it will ping the target, and then you simply select the appropriate zero. So this is better at night, And this one is really, really snazzy in the day, in that you don't have to do anything. It will sort it all out according to the ballistics that you've put in. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to zero this at 100 yards and do all the hard work yourself and turn off all the extra stuff, then you're welcome to do that. You don't need this rangefinder at extra cost. You can simply zero this, use it in the day, and record your photos, record your videos, and then you can use it in the night with the IR on the side, IR torch on the side, and if you're looking at a fox at 200 yards and you're zeroed at 100, you just, give it an inch or whatever. So it doesn't have to be complicated, but it will do this advanced stuff. Likewise, on this scope, we've got Wi-Fi and GPS. Now, the GPS will populate the barometric pressure and such like, and that will affect your ballistic calculator should you want it to. It will also geotag your videos, and you can then send the link to your friends, and they get a Google Earth zoom down of where the target was. I mean, this is stuff that is absolutely fantastic, but it isn't necessary. You don't have to understand or configure it should you not wish to. You could turn it all off and just use it as a day and night scope. Now, our Pulsar has this clever range finding feature, which I absolutely love. I would certainly not buy the one without it. I would spend the extra. It is a real game changer at night. You're looking at the fox, you're thinking, well, is that coming to 100, or is it still 175? Tired eyes, 3 in the morning, no perspective. It's so difficult, and you can just press this button and you go, oh, it's 175. Oh, lovely. It's really very cool. It isn't perfectly, flawlessly integrated where it does it all for you, but it is pretty close. That is cool. Other than that, you've got standard night vision features on a Digiscope. Changeable ret, changeable colours. There's a very nice feature you can have on the rolling quick menu here, which you adjust with your fingertips, which enables you to change the brightness and contrast of the image to suit. And that's really slick. You haven't got to go into some detailed menu to get it. It's right there. And that's really nice. And you can also configure the zoom to be on that quick menu, so you can just roll and it will click up 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, 3.9 and up and down to suit. So these are standard, admittedly, bang up to date, but standard night vision features. The really clever thing about this Pulsar is the ability to put in multiple zeros for multiple rifles, and then to quickly get to them having pinged the target with the built-in rangefinder. That is really cool. It doesn't do much else. You've got video out, but no inbuilt recording. Very, very, very limited daytime ability. I mean, zeroing at 100 yards will test you. How on earth you're supposed to zero at 200 and 300 and 400 for the multiple 0 points, I do not know. I mean, I think you'd have to do it at night, because there just isn't any resolution by day. It is a black and white minefield of an image. Don't kid yourself that you're going to use this at anything other than last light and dark. Now, the DIY system is versatile in that you can put it on different scopes. It's high resolution at high mag in that you are not digitally zooming, you are optically zooming using your scope. You use your parallax on the side to get the ret sharp and the background sharp, so it's always working well. It has great battery. It's modular as well in that you could upgrade bits in it. I mean, I've just put a new lens on this because this new high transmission lens came out and it was 20 quid and we just screwed it on. So it's a really, really clever system, this. Very versatile. And the night vision performance is very nearly as good as you can get. And you're talking about £300 in a smart enclosure with a 15-hour battery. DIY night vision has come a long way, guys. You don't have any fancy features. This is a camera looking through the lens. You've got video out, analog video, mind, but you don't have, and that will have the ret on it, but you don't have any ballistics, anything, if you want to range find the thing, well, you're out of luck. It's an advanced CCTV camera that's designed to auto adjust very, very well, and it is quite an advanced piece of kit, and in a nice enclosure like this, it starts to look like a hell of a good option. Now, on the X-Sight, it doesn't have the night vision talent of the Pulsar or the DIY system. It's starting to run out of talent at about 225, 230 yards, I think. You might be able to see eye shine a lot further, but I'm talking about quarry identity here, identification, you know, really seeing the shape and the tail, and, you know, that starts to stop with this at about 230 yards, as I say, which is fully half of what the Pulsar is capable of. But the interesting thing is, the X-Sight's digital zoom is much better. You could certainly get above 10, and in the day, in good light, I'm quite happy to use it on 14. So it enables you to get out and really use this thing in the day as well, whereas on the Pulsar, it is dreadful, and that's not atypical of Digiscopes as a whole. So on that level, that is a real plus point for the X-Sight, because while the digital zoom does degrade the quality, it doesn't degrade it as much as the others. I particularly like the intuitive menu system that is used by pressing this button, which is your kind of central OK, and then your rotating options here, which move you up and down the menu. You can also configure that really easily to do certain things while in use, i.e. not in the menu. You can have that zoom in your contrast and brightness, which tweaks your image constantly. You can have it do your zoom. You know, really useful things to have fettled. That you can have as your zoom doubler, so that you click that and all of a sudden you've gone from 3.5 to 7. And then, of course, the big thing with this scope, and something that I really do recommend you buy and sets it apart from the competition, is this LRF facility built in. Here's the unit strapped to the side, permanently there. You click this, it will ping the range and it will tell you what it is in your display. Furthermore, you can then quickly roll this button around, your quick select menu, and select the associated zero that you've configured. Say you're on your 223 profile inside, and there are various ones of them that you can use. But let's say you're on your 223. There are then sub-zeros within that profile. So you could have zeroed 100, 200, 300, 400, for example. And when you've pressed your pinger and it says you're at 300 yards, you can then quickly go tap, 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 and literally in just a few clicks, you can be at your 300 yard zero, and then you're rocking and rolling. It doesn't do it automatically like the X-Sight will, and it will be difficult to zero using this scope in the day at 300 yards. That's going to take some doing, because the day performance is, as ever with Digiscopes, just half a notch above completely unusable. They are awful. So I'm not saying that all these 0 points are going to be easy to put in, but get them in, and then combined with the LRF, you will be deadly with regard to your drop. We all know that estimating range at night is super tricky, no doubt about it. And of course, you can't normally use a conventional rangefinder because you can't see any of the display and you can't see what you're aiming at without torchlight. It is a real point of failure at night. So having a built-in through the scope range readout that quickly correlates to an adjusted zero, okay, that's cool. That's worth some money. That is something you can't do with your DIY. So kudos there. And if you're wondering, do I spend the extra? Definitely, guys. If you're using a rimfire, you know how difficult range estimation is and how often you'll miss high and low. This puts that to bed and does it quickly and easily. It's not fully automatic, but it only takes a couple of seconds to get fettled. And you know, that really helps your kill rate at night, plain and simple. The focus dial is here. There's a notch, you know, a detent that you can feel, and I've got to say it's fairly unfussy at night. Last thing you want to be doing is constantly having to focus your image. It is it makes a difference, but it isn't something you've got to worry about every time you change 5 yards, so that's well calibrated. The device chews battery. It's very disappointing. It is what it is. They all chew batteries terribly, apart from the DIY system. This uses 4 AAs. You really, really want to be using the expensive lithium types. They're about 4 times as much money as normal batteries, and they last 10 times as long. They are the only thing that is acceptable, really, if you want to use it for a few hours. It uses external 12-volt power, which you can get from a lithium polymer pack or any 12-volt power source that you can stick in your pocket. That is very useful. It'll chunter along on one of them forever and a day, so that's what I predominantly do, which is why this catches off. You can output video, analog video, to you know, a recorder there. The mounts are nice. No problems there. They're adjustable. Let me get some light in here. They are adjustable in that you can flip them to get the mount at various lengths to suit your mounting requirements. So, and they're really burly as well. You're not going to have any problems with them coming loose. So, yeah, you know, again, feels like a Generation 10 product. Pick rail there. Pick rail there. Nice to have one on the side as well as the top. You've got different options. I prefer to run my IR on the side, so I come out of here and alongside of the IR there. That works great for me. You could put a portable battery pack on that top rail should you wish, and then plug it into your 12-volt. That would be nifty, because then you'd have all the power that you need. So with regard to performance, I was really rather impressed by the out and out, let's use the phrase, light gathering ability of this. Without IR in the sort of moonlight mode, it depends on how bright the moon is, but with minimal light. I remember thinking when I was doing some foxing one night that it was the amount of light where you would just be able to see a puddle so you didn't stand in it. You know, just a little bit of light. In that light, you could see a rat pop out of a hedge at 45 yards, 50 yards. You could see foxes coming out of a hedge 100, 150 yards. It's really good. There's quite a bit of lag. You certainly can't go panning with it, but the performance is, I was really impressed. And then, of course, the class of the system shows when you start flooding the place with IR. With cheap systems, if you get a mega, you know, 500-yard torch and you put that at 5 yards on a hedge line, everything will white out, and that's that. You have to then flood the torch out, adjust the torch to get your image to expose. It's like a camera with an open, fixed aperture for the photographically inclined people among you. Whereas a quality camera, like the one that's in this Pulsar, will stop down, limit the amount of light that it needs to expose correctly the image for you, and then all of a sudden it's there. You give it half a second to adjust and you've got your image back. So this is very, very clear in this Pulsar. The way it deals with light is so good, so well sorted, that it reduces your eye strain and improves your image. It's very, very well done. It really is. So you can use a lot of torchlight, which enables you to get out there obviously and see. The more light, the further you can see. That's the end of it. And yet use that torchlight at closer ranges and for panning and scanning and moving around without suddenly having to readjust the image all of the time. The camera does that for you expertly. It's very, very well squared away. This is combined with an auto contrast setting that works really well to stabilize the image that you get, so you always have the same brightness, whatever the range, whatever the amount of IR, your eye gets used to it, that details are not washed out, blown out by too much light, and yet if you go to a dark section, it will brighten and stop open, as in, you know, open up its aperture to stabilize the image that you get. So you get this constant linear image, whatever the range, brightness, etc. Whatever the range and power of the torch beam, etc. Very, very well done. The DIY system does this well as well because it has a really good camera. The X-Sight didn't do it at all. It really needed you to use the iris, the little lens with a hole in, for it to be able to deal with too much light, notably daylight, and because obviously daylight is an unbelievably larger amount of light, guys. Hundreds, thousands of times more light than your torch can dream of producing. So daylight is its own challenge for these night vision scopes. So the X-Sight was quite bad at that, unless you were running the iris, and then the latest firmware just really improved that, and now it is quite significantly better at stopping down and not whiting out with a very bright torch at night when you put it close to you on a close hedge line. The Pulsar is the best of the lot, then the camera in the DIY system, and third of the bunch is the X-Sight, but none of them are bad. When you go to the basic systems, the sub £500 Digiscopes, basically you have to do the irising yourself, and or adjusting the level of torch output, or you're going to white out. But the Pulsar is real class here. Likewise, if you look at the horizon, and then you look, which is obviously brighter as you're in early dusk, and then you look down at the ground, which is darker, it will adjust very quickly and smoothly to that transition, which is a sign of a quality camera in there. So the built-in IR on the Pulsar is here. It's that little tiny torch thing on the side there. It is so unbelievably rubbish, I thought it was faulty. The whole Pulsar is quality, classy, well developed, well sealed, well, you feel like it's a Generation 10 product. You know, it really is dialed in. There are some fundamental flaws remaining in the whole night vision world, but the instrument is quality. You can feel it. And then you turn the IR on and you think the whole thing's faulty. It's an eye-safe one, which is a different wavelength to your normal 850 nanometer IR. And essentially, it's eye-safe and it's invisible. There's no tiny red glow with it, in other words. But it goes less far, and it is already a small device. It also seems to put this mottled effect onto the image, like you're looking through a dirty window. And I really mean a very dirty, kind of water-streaked window. And you think, what on earth is wrong with the image quality? And by God, if you didn't have an external IR, you wouldn't think this Pulsar was any good. When I first turned it on, it was rubbish at 50 yards. And then I put an external IR on. Oh my days, the resolution must have quadrupled, and the brightness, and it was just night and day, if you pardon the awful pun. You can forget about using this with the built-in IR. Which of course you would anyway, because everybody knows if you want to give yourself half a chance at night vision, you need a really decent IR torch, and that's the end of it. And what's built in is really an afterthought. But by God, it really is an afterthought on this Pulsar. On the other hand, this little unit that comes with the X-Sight I really like. It isn't a 500-yard IR, but it's small and compact and quiet. 3 good modes on it. And it's slightly adjustable from flood to spot. Really good clamp. That clips on the Picatinny on the side. There. And the clamp has a kind of ball joint in it, so you can get it lined up. But then when you do the clamp up, the ball joint seals up solid so that you're kind of locked in. And you can take this off, pop it back on another time, because of course you don't need it in the day, it's a pain in the arse in the day, you put it on back at night and it's pointing in the right direction. And it is solid at 150 yards. So if you want to go out and shoot some rabbits, shoot some rats, shoot some, you know, certainly things that are larger than rats and rabbits, sub 200 yards, that thing is golden. So yes, if you upgrade it to the big green one that Optics Warehouse sell, that'll be better. If you put this T50 on, especially with the latest LEDs, infrared LEDs, then great, you know, it's going to be better. But this system is not bad out of the box, guys. It's perfectly usable to stick on a rimfire and go out sub 200 yards and start doing your thing. It uses CR123 batteries, not the normal standard 18650 batteries, which are everywhere. But that makes it nice and slim, you see. Essentially, what I did was I bought a bulk pack of premium CR123s. I think I got 20 for 15 quid or something. And I'm just chewing through them. The rechargeable CR123s, which are called CR123As, are not really an option. Normally, rechargeable batteries suit fairly high drain devices better than normal chemistry batteries, but they have capacity slightly less, but they often drain better. That is not the case with CR123. CR123 rechargeables have nowhere near the capacity of the alkaline ones, nowhere near. So frankly, you're better just feeding it normal batteries and throwing them away when they run out. So that's the situation there. Your normal larger IR torches run on 18650s, and I use premium Panasonic and LG and Samsung cells. One, because they don't burn your house down. Do not underestimate how utterly lethal and rubbish these high capacity cheap batteries are. Don't mess about with cheap batteries and chargers, guys. So let's just talk about this DIY. This is the smart enclosure kit from Ludicrous Lumens in the UK, where you get a 3D printed camera cover with a single cable, multiple different attachments here to fit different scopes. Then you get a box with your screen in. You can have this top mount or not. Switch on the bottom for power. And then we have power in for charging, and video out, analog video out on the side. So it's all in this smart box now, or these two bits, just with a single cable. Batteries built in here, screens built in there, cameras in here, everything is enclosed. Very, very smart. All lightweight plastic. This doesn't come with, that's just an external clamp that I use to put a torch on the left side here rather than on the top, which is how I prefer it. But what you're looking at here, bottom line guys, is 300 quid, give or take, and you've got a premium CCTV camera, so that's auto iris, auto exposure. This thing is a very nifty piece of optical kit. You've got that attached in a nice enclosure which fits different scopes of different magnification to a high quality screen, batteries included, mega battery life, you know, a dozen hours plus. Now, you can zoom with this, with your scope, and that's optical zoom. So you're not interpolating, you're not using digital zoom, which even, you know, £2,000 night vision scopes use. Digital night vision scopes use, and the quality gets murdered as you zoom in. What you're talking about here is you're using your scope, so you have the opportunity to zoom not to the full range of the scope unless the scope is very, very good, but you're able certainly to get well into it. For example, this Delta is a very bright high transmission scope, 2.5 to 15. It's perfectly happy 2.5 to 12. So you're getting a lot of versatility. You can adjust the focus of the ret so it's always sharp with your side focus. This is a very good system, and it's no money. I think that by any standards, on the night vision side of things, this has to be the winner of my recommendation here. It's just so good for so little money. Imagining you've got 1,500 quid. You can buy a £1,200 scope, get all the advantages of that in the day, and then pop this 300 quid night vision system on by night. Pretty handy. Then you add the versatility in of being able to use it on different scopes for different purposes, you know, ratting one day, you know, 300-yard foxes the next, and it just has to win. When they were all bundles of rough cables and shrink wrapping, and they were kind of more of a geek prospect. I had one from the early days and couldn't believe how well it worked, but it was a mess. When I said to Ludicrous Lumens, what's happening now, and they showed me this smart way of doing it now, and the way that you can buy one and just have it delivered in the post already built, and for that sort of money, there's just nothing that can touch that, guys. Don't think because it's brackets DIY that the quality is poor. The quality of these is really good. I think that on pure low light performance without IR, the Pulsar is better, and I think that some of the other leaders are better, but nobody's doing that. You know, you're gonna flood it with IR light, of course you are. And when you do that, the quality of the optics, you know, the night vision performance of this DIY with a decent, appropriate IR torch is nearly as good as the best of the best night vision bespoke units for 5 times the price. So you know, you can't go wrong with this. To give you an idea, you're talking about IDing foxes 450 yards easy. Depends on the torch and the scope, obviously, but the quality of the camera is there. You're talking about being able to shoot rats at 3 yards with an air rifle if you put it on that type of scope. It's just very, very, very versatile and very, very capable. So I have to give this 11 out of 10. I really do. Fit and forget, great battery life, super versatile, super high quality, modular, upgradable, replaceable. If the screen breaks or you drop it, you put another one in for 20 quid. You know, fantastic. I really, really do like this. Weight is just over a couple of pounds, and obviously you're not running a scope either. Then you've got to add the IR realistically. I'll put one of them on, hang on a sec. There we go. I don't think that's unreasonable. A lot of plastics on it, but they feel like a quality high grade plastics, and the whole thing isn't horrendously bulky. Interestingly, same weight as the X-Sight, the larger 5 to 20 X-Sight. Again, you need the torch as well. Well, not in the day, but by night you'd need the torch. So similar weight to the X-Sight. Doesn't feel as heavy, but weights are the same. A scope with the DIY on. Assume you can see that. That's a 4, yeah, so 1,500 grams. A little bit heavier. And then obviously we need IR on top of that. Okay, so we've talked about how the DIY is great value, super versatile on various scopes, very high quality. The Pulsar is top quality with regard to the ability of the night vision identification of foxes at 500 plus yards. Good, no IR, just moonlight performance, adjustable features, adjustable buttons, waterproof. Very, very well thought out, but is a lot of money. And then, but it's useless in the day. And then you've got the X-Sight 2, which is a really fun all-round scope. You can record everything you do in the day, like shooting through a video camera, and then at night it is very, very, very decent. Not the best night vision in the world, but if you want to shoot 200-yard foxes, 150-yard rabbits, you've got all that you need, and is a great value really at quite a bit less than the bespoke night vision units